Rex has been in and out of rehab and it's for Diet Coke.
Oh, for Diet Coke, really? I have a coffee dysfunction, so I drink way too much coffee, and everywhere I go, I'm always in coffee. Eventually, if I ever went to AA, I'd be like, "Hi, I'm Patrick. I have a coffee addiction."
It's a Friday night. I'm ready to party. Getting down with the guys.
I'm here with an amazing band called WhiteCross. When I finally got the interview, I was so excited. So I contacted one of my best friends named David Ross, who loves Christian metal. He knows every Christian metal band. And I was like, "Do you know the band WhiteCross?" And he was like, "That band is awesome." He said he grew up on you guys, and he went on this tangent and he sent me like 7 songs that were his favorite songs, and he started talking about how, "Oh, I loved the old guy that was in the band, but the new guy who sings in the band too is good." Like, he knew way more about you guys than I ever could know. He said that you guys were founded in '85, is that correct?
Yeah.
He ended up saying that you guys recorded a song last year, and it was your best song ever. That was his exact words.
Wow.
So that's how much he likes you guys. So how you guys doing today?
Good, we're doing well.
Could you please start by introducing yourself and telling everyone what your role in the band is?
Yeah, sure. I'm Rex. I'm the guitar player.
I'm Michael. I'm a drummer.
I'm David. I'm the singer.
I'm Benny Ramos. I'm the bass player.
Are you Irish, Michael?
I am.
That's awesome. That's such an Irish name. Top of the morning to you. It's not morning there anymore. Can we get your best Irish accent?
Yes.
Oh man, you put me on the spot.
If you can't do an Irish accent, let's just move on. Can you take us through the origin story of WhiteCross? Everybody really wants to know how you guys got founded and how hard it was to find Christian metal musicians in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah. In 1977, I was actually in a Christian rock band of sorts. It was more pop music, but did that for like 4 years as a university student. And then when school got out, was finished, I was teaching guitar lessons at the local music store, and Scott Wenzel walked through the door, the original lead singer, and he needed a guitar player, and I needed a singer. So that's how we started the band. And it took a while to find a mix of musicians. For a long time, we had, you know how it is in any organization. You know, people come in for a while and they go, but it takes a while to get to the right mix of musicians. And now we have this lineup stability that is really great for us. And so I like to refer, this is not the original lineup of the band, so I just refer to it as the classic lineup. You know, Benny's was the new guy since the year 2000, so 25 years. Mike is like since what, 1990 or number one?
91.
Yeah. Wow. So, and Dave has actually been here for like 4 years or 5 years. What is it?
2020, 5 years.
Yeah. So, you know, we,
Right?
so we've kind of been here, but you know, back in the beginning, I did actually start the band with Scotty, and he had started a group called WhiteCross. So every now and then you'll see in the people's comments on things that you know, WhiteCross technically was a band before I came into it, but it was a cover band. And they would play songs by Res Band and anything that had a bit of a rocky beat to it. And I came in and said, well, let's, you know, I got these guitar riffs. Let's make some songs out of these riffs. And that's how we started. And then, so that was 85. And then our first album came out in 87. And then boom. And then we just went from there.
That's awesome. So I have 2 questions, but the first one that comes to mind is, how did you guys know everyone in the band was Christian? Because when you start a Christian rock band, there's so many, you have to do like a vetting process. And I love Christian metal so much, but then you get certain church people who are super legalistic and say you shouldn't play Christian metal. And then there's other people who fully embrace it. So how was the struggle with that in the 80s, where like that was a very era where everyone wanted to rebel and get away from religion and no Christianity and get away from Jesus? How did you guys vet the process and actually find Christian musicians?
That may be your experience, but it wasn't my experience. My experience was this is just a calling of God. It's a burden on your heart. You know, it's how I grew up. Well, Dave and myself and Mike, Benny, I'm not aware if Benny is. Benny's always been in church music, yeah. But the rest of us have all been in like mainstream rock bands and cover bands and things. But to be in a group like WhiteCross, you just have to have a burden and be excited about the opportunity to, like, one, you know, you're serving the Lord, um, and you're lifting up His name wherever you go, and you know that the songs are God is using those songs to accomplish amazing things in people's lives, and so people pretty much weed themselves out. You know, people that don't, you know, and it's not an easy life for any of us. So people who want to be here are here, and people who don't want to be there have shown themselves the door. Really, we were just talking about, you know, guys that have, you know, have been with the group for a season at one time or another, you know, and it's fine for a while, and then something always comes up. So the people that are called that are supposed to be here is right around this table.
Yeah, you know you're meant to do something if you continue to do it, even if you're not making a lot of money at it, even if you're not getting rich and famous, you continue to do it because you know that's what God placed on your heart.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. I mean, it just, you know, people kind of sometimes see have a misperception of, especially from other countries, they have a misperception of that, you know, how White Cross works. And, you know, some people think we have private jets and like tour buses and
I don't want to call anyone out, so I'm going to leave that one alone. But there's some famous preachers in Texas who have private jets, and there's one that got confronted on a video. I'm not going to
Yeah.
say who it is because I don't want to talk bad about anyone, but there's no need for well, unless you're like Billy Graham and you have an organization and they're using it for the kingdom, then I see it's okay.
yeah. I mean, we've always, you know, kind of had the mindset of doing it for the kingdom and for ministry. You know, we get enough just to kind of help ourselves to get by, and but we're not definitely, you know, some people think we're Bon Jovi or Metallica or making that kind of income. We are not.
The one member in your band does look a lot like the guitar player from Queen.
Who's that? This guy?
Yeah, this guy right here. See, you should have known. You could have guessed. I didn't want to tell you, but so maybe you are the Christian version of Queen. Except Freddie Mercury was a really interesting guy because he oftentimes like almost worshiped the devil. Like he would say things like, "Oh, I'd rather go to hell. Don't you think it's a much better place?"
Mm. Well, that's showbiz. Yeah, a lot of showbiz is like that, like Rex is saying.
So the bass players, since he's new in the band, and you guys brought up that he was new in the band, I really want to know what was it like filling the shoes of the old bass player? Because the old bass player was incredible. He was so talented.
Oh yeah. In fact, well, they had several of them before I joined the band, and they Butch Dillon. I don't know if that's who you're referring to, but he was an incredible bass player. And they've had several of them. Now, me being before Dave came along, like Rex was saying, I was a new guy, even though I was in for 20 years, almost 20 years. But I have been the longest in duration as far as bass player that they've had. And so that part is an accomplishment, I think, for me. But yeah, being in the band, I've always really kind of been a fan of the band since almost day one. Since they were before even the first album came out, I would see them play, and because they were from the area, and it started out from the area, and so where I was living at, and so yeah, so it's
You can tell them a story of meeting Rex. They're like,
yeah, I think I was about 16 years old or so, and I remember meeting Rex and for the first time, and I was so in awe of his playing, and I went up to him after the show. Might have even when the Scotty was starting to like kind of preach. You were out in the
We're not worthy! We're not worthy! We're not worthy!
yeah. And that's time I'm like, that is incredible. I said, you know, you're
I said, how long have you been playing? And he looked at me and he says, well, how old are you? I said, like 16, I think we're 15 or 16. And he said, well, I've been playing longer than you've been living.
And then the crowd walked away with him.
That sounds a lot like when my mom met Ringo Starr. She said, "Oh, I love you so much," and he said, "I bet your parents do too."
Yeah.
Which is amazing. So that's just an incredible story. So you guys are from Waukegan, Illinois. I really want to know, what do you guys think of the place, Big Ed's Barbecue? Have you been there?
Where's that? Is it in
Well, it says it's in Waukegan, yeah. And there's another place I want to shout out called Portillo's. What can you tell us about
Oh,
Portillo's?
yeah, Portillo's. I love Portillo's.
Portillo's is great.
Yeah, it's one of our good plays. They got
Like they're franchising it now. It's popping up all over in different cities.
Oh, okay.
I know some of Waukegan, but I've never been there.
Another Chicago place I really want to shout out is Rolling Stone Records. Have you been there?
Nope.
You've never been to Rolling Stone Records in Norwich, Illinois? It's incredible. It's like one of the longest standing record stores in all of Chicago. And they have all these vinyls hanging on the ceiling. It's really cool.
That's
A lot of famous bands go there to perform and do like live signings and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So now I want to ask you guys about your song "Enough Is Enough," and it's a really incredible song. And the lyrics go, "I've had enough of this world and its lies. I'm turning my eyes on the sun." And in Romans chapter 12, verse 2, it says, "Do not be conformed to the world, but be transformed to the renewing of your mind." What are some ways when you guys are on the road where you really have to keep transforming your mind and making sure you're focused on Jesus?
That's a deep question. Uh, well, just last night, because everybody has their cross to carry, and I struggle with anxiety. And the guys kind of prayed over me last night, but man, you just, have to stay close to Jesus, and it's just nice to have, band members that I can trust, I can go to, and say, "Hey, man, I'm struggling with this. Pray for me." Yeah.
Yeah, anxiety is one of the hardest things to overcome because I struggle with it too. And I wasn't a Christian when I found out I had anxiety, and I actually went to the doctor and said, I feel like running down the street, and he said that's normal. So some people need to take medication. Other people can just overcome it through, praying or fasting or doing other things like that. But we really just need Jesus. Without Jesus, you can take all the medication in the world, but you'll still be just as empty inside.
Right.
So what are some ways that you overcome anxiety? Do you go on spiritual walks? Have you ever heard of that, where you walk around outside and have God like open your heart and you pray to God, help you get rid of this?
Well, I know with me, it's like whenever I'm kind of feeling down, or I always just turn on some music, not necessarily just like some instrumental music, and and I get my prayer time in, and it always helps. It's something that helps me and calms me down. And sometimes when the weight of the day or the weight of things kind of come up on my shoulder, then I rest in the Lord as much as I can. That's the best for me. I can't speak for the other guys, but that works for me.
So you guys have an album that came out in 1991 that's called "For in the Kingdom," and you guys brought a really heavier sound and a more authentic style. How did this album represent your growth as a musician and as believers in faith? How did it really help you grow in your faith with
The
Jesus?
Kingdom album. Talking about the Kingdom album, right?
Yeah, "For in the Kingdom." Yeah, I love that album so much, and I love the song on it. I think the song I'm thinking of is on there too. I just love that album so much. But I listen to Spotify. It goes like, "No more darkness, no more night."
Yeah, that's in the Kingdom. Yep.
Yeah, I love that song.
That's probably our most well-known song, and it's a bit of an anthem. So we always play it just because our audience would expect us to play that song, and it's that album did really well for us, and Star Song, the record label, they wanted that album to do well, so they backed it, and they put some effort into promoting it, and then we were kind of achieving like in our live show, we were improving on our live show, I would say, and we had Twitch on the bass. And then Mike, we were in the middle of the recordings for that album, and that's when Mike came in and auditions to be the drummer, and we said, "Yeah, he'll do."
He'll do. You're just saying like, oh, he's okay. He'll do. He's good enough. You like Jesus? All right, you'll do.
Yeah.
I know Ringo Starr for the Beatles was considered not very good. And there's a really funny story where they said, I don't know, Ringo Starr would just come in and we would write the songs based around his drum beat. And then there's a really famous story where I think it was Paul McCartney talking, and he said, we opened up the Yellow Pages and we found a guitar teacher and we said, can you teach us the A minor chord? And didn't even know how to play the A minor chord, such a basic chord. Did you really show him up and prove to him that you were a better drummer than he made it seem?
Press can be very intimidating. And I just remember I was confident in my playing. And I remember him just saying, you need to play your bass drum harder. And I was like, huh, can you do more of these John Bonham triplets?
Oh, I thought you were going to say like post-hardcore, like, death metal. Like... Can you do death metal? Can you do double bass pedals?
Not the extreme metal, no.
Not the extreme metal like Disciple. Do you know Disciple?
You know, like the extreme metal where it's just a double kick is insane.
Because Disciple is, do you know the band Disciple? They're an amazing Christian metal band, but they're a lot heavier than you guys. Have you ever met them?
We have.
Oh, that's awesome.
We played with them as Loud and Proud, and they were very, very nice guys. And I didn't know that, I forget the singers. We don't have many on that. And someone had told me, oh yeah, Kevin's a really big fan of you guys. And so I was talking with them, and I was like, he goes, yeah, man, I really grew up on you guys. And I was like, seriously? And he goes, yeah, look at my tattoo. And it was a WhiteCross tattoo.
What? No way.
Yeah. And yeah, I feel, I'm like, you like that much, you need to bring us on tour. Prove this like this.
What I love about them so much is during every show, he actually stops the show and all the band members get off stage, and for like 30 minutes, he preaches the gospel. Yeah. So he'll go on, like he talks a lot about like being in the world and not of the world. And that's something that's really important, especially when you're in a metal band. And in the Bible, it says, if the world hates you, know it hated me first. And Jesus says that. What are some of the ways that people have hated you and you've had to overcome?
Like being in the band or the spiritual life?
Being in the band or just, touring. I know there's a lot of industry people. Like there's a really famous band and it's called Skillet. And he said like there was a show that he was at, and then afterwards he got invited to a party. Like this big wig came up to him and said like, hey man, you can do a lot more not talking about Jesus than you can talking about Jesus. And oftentimes that's the perception, like, oh no, don't talk about Jesus. Has anybody that's like, have you ever lost any gigs or had anyone tell you not to talk about Jesus?
I don't think I've really experienced that. I mean, I can totally see that happening. I've never had that. My experience, it was like, wow, that God opened the door. One minute I'm playing in a local band, and the next I'm flying to Australia with WhiteCross, and it's like, whoa. There was times, sometimes like people are like, out here, you shouldn't have long hair like that. That's not good shit.
Well, Jesus Christ is always portrayed as having long hair, but who knows if that's actually accurate. I don't mind. I used to have really long hair just like yours, but I cut it recently.
So you're holier than I am.
I'm kind of like Samson when I cut my hair and I lost all my powers. So don't cut your hair. You won't be able to play the drums anymore. You'll just fail entirely. So I want to ask a question for the singer. I think he has a recovery thing that he does when he's not touring in the band. Is that true? Like an amazing recovery program?
Oh, what now?
I think one of the members in the band has a recovery program that's at a church. Is that true?
Oh, that's my daughter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can you speak about it? Because recovery is one of the biggest things in the metal scene that people need to overcome. A lot of people have anxiety disorder, have alcohol disorder, and all these different things. So could you speak to that?
Yeah, she's her name's Heather, and she lives in Tucson, Arizona. She has 2 houses for women and 1 house for men. and it's all about recovery and getting people off of drugs, and all Bible based.
Wow.
And yeah, so she's doing really well. She's had those houses for, gosh, before I even joined WhiteCross. So it's been at least 5 years anyway.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. So my understanding was somebody in the band had an alcohol disorder. Is that true? And how did you guys overcome it?
I don't know if that was us.
Okay, maybe it was a different member. Maybe it was someone else entirely. So we'll just skip that question.
Rex has been in and out of rehab, and it's for Diet Coke.
Oh, for Diet Coke, really? I have a coffee dysfunction, so I drink way too much coffee, and everywhere I go, I'm always drinking coffee. And eventually, if I ever went to AA, I'd be like, "Hi, I'm Patrick. I have a coffee addiction." How many Diet Cokes do you drink a day?
And us.
24 pack, 24 packs in one day.
Enough to get the job done. Yeah, and then his musician is singing enough's enough.
I want to be good stewards of your guys' time, so I want to get into some funny touring questions. Touring often means long bus rides. What are some of the most bizarre or funny things you have caught band members doing? And keep it appropriate, of course. Don't say anything that's not appropriate. Because we're all Christians here. We don't want to put sin in the light.
Benny picking lint out of his door. Yeah,
What was that? Can you repeat that?
I was joking around. I caught Benny picking lint out of his belly button.
Stimpy! Are you playing with your belly button again?
Yeah, Ren, it's fun. Listen!
That sounds like something out of the show Ren and Stimpy. Just picking a lint out of the belly button.
Yeah, make sure it's like clean.
Me and Benny were talking at breakfast. We had went to India. It's like 5 years ago.
No way.
Yeah, we were when we were going, either coming back. Were we coming back? And we were flying back, and they stopped us in the airport, and I guess it was the general manager or whatever, and he brought us into his office, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I heard you guys played here. How did the shows go?" And we were thinking, "Man, we need to get on this plane," but they held the plane. So everybody was on the plane, and he's just talking to us about the show. Yeah. And so he goes, "Okay." And as we were walking out, people were asking us to sign autographs. So we always joke around that they stopped the plane for us. You're like,
That's awesome, dude. I thought people would be booing you. I want to go home. Boo, you suck.
yeah.
I'm sure some person thought it, but nobody had the guts to say it out loud. But that's awesome. They actually stopped the plane. What was it like being in India? Because I have a friend in India, and he's actually, if you ever go back to India, he has a huge ministry, and he would definitely let you guys stay with him for free.
Oh wow!
It was amazing.
Yeah, it actually was one of since being in the band in 2000, that was like one of the highlights of since I've been in the band. It was amazing that we didn't know what to expect. At first, I was kind of a little nervous going over there. I just never been that part of
And we
the
didn't
world, and
we didn't know if there was going to be 10 people.
Look at God. That's amazing.
It was really amazing.
yeah, every night was about 10,000 and then 6,000. It was very well attended.
And
Very
the
well.
craziest thing is they said one of the biggest songs that went to #1 was Simple Man.
What?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mhm.
So you can
So we were
you can
like,
actually you can actually go on you could probably actually go on Google and type in what are the most popular songs of WhiteCross in India, or chat
Yeah.
CBT and hit enter, and it'll tell you all of them. That's amazing. So did you do any ministry in India? Did anyone come to know the Lord and come and talk to you afterwards?
Yeah, I mean, people were definitely impacted. And that was one of our first shows without Scotty. We actually had Peter Senlin, a good friend of ours, filled in to sing with us. And that was a great, kind of a turning point of the band. Because Rex really kind of stood out a little bit more and started ministering more, where Scotty kind of took the reins on that. And now that when he wasn't, singing with us, that was the good opportunity for Rex to kind of like step in the forefront a little bit more, be a little bit more vocal in that area. And so, and I thought that was kind of really refreshing for the band. Yeah, it was a good turning point for us.
How often do you guys play with secular metal bands? And have you ever ministered to any famous secular metal bands and told them about Jesus?
Have we? I don't know.
We have an occasion. I think Piercy. Yeah, Stephen Piercy from Rat. We did a show with Stephen Piercy from Rat, and
Doing one with Angel.
yeah, and then there's another one with is it Angel or Angelic? Angel, and so they're another secular band. So occasionally we do. It's actually really good because it gives us an opportunity to people that never heard us, and they get because we're pretty straight up forward with our lyrics, ministry wise, and so this is a good opportunity for us to share the gospel, and people right away know what we're about.
And what I love completely about Christian metal music is that it transcends words, and somebody who would never come inside a church would go to a metal concert, and then you can transform them with the gospel and really reach people who would never open a Bible, never go to church. They have all these preconceived notions, or the church is dogmatic and they're just going to judge me. But that's not true. There's plenty of churches. There's actually a Christian metal church in Japan. There's a Christian metal church in Texas. So they do exist. I have another question for you that's really interesting. There's a movie called Groundhog's Day, and in the movie, Bill Murray keeps repeating the same day over and over again. If you had to repeat the same one day on this tour, what would it be, and which day would it be, and why?
I mean, if we had to repeat one,
Yeah, one day, like where you kept waking up and it was almost like a nightmare, and you said like throughout your whole career, or maybe throughout this whole tour, you just had to repeat the same day over and over again, where it was like Groundhog's Day.
oh, there's probably many that
I would do Brazil 91. We played in Rio at a soccer stadium, and then there was like about 45,000 the Friday night and about 60,000 the next night. It was
Did you go-
absolutely incredible.
Did you go to the Jesus statue, the gigantic Jesus statue? What was that like? I want to go so bad.
It was very cool. Very cool.
And the coffee there was amazing. Did you try any of the coffee?
Oh, yes.
Did you go to any local coffee places that you can shout out, or you probably don't remember? That was so long ago.
Yeah, it was a little longer, but I do remember one funny story where we were doing an interview at a McDonald's. Yeah, and it was packed. It was just packed. And at one point, I told the promoter, I said, "Hey, I need to go to the bathroom. Where's the bathroom?" I thought, "Oh, hold on." And he went into the bathroom, and he told everybody he'd get out. Everybody out of the bathroom. And I said, "No, I can pee with all there. It's okay."
Get out immediately. He's going number one.
They let me have the whole bathroom, so I just ran around and eat.
Right here, right this way, Mr. President. You're going to your private bathroom.
yeah.
And who are your favorite bass players?
I have many. I got several. Like I really like this guy named Otito Burbridge. A lot of people haven't heard of him, and he used to play for Allman Brothers.
Oh, the Allman Brothers are amazing.
Yeah, there's quite a few. I'm actually a fan of just bass players in general.
What's your opinion of a guy named Jackson Brown? Have you heard of him?
Oh yeah, Jackson Brown.
I love Jackson Brown so much. I would love to see him live.
Yeah.
He's getting pretty old.
There's another guy. His name's Marco Mendoza. He plays a lot of jazz with he plays with a lot of people that play with Prince, but then at the same time, and then he played with Ted Nugent. He plays and played with Whitesnake, and so he's amazing. Very, very, very versatile player, and is actually a believer as well.
One thing that really shocked me was that Randy Jackson played bass for Journey. I never knew that. I was like, what the heck, bro? He's actually a musician? I just thought he was some guy on American Idol, and eventually I looked him up. He's a real musician? What the heck? I'm like, what are your credentials, bro? So I looked him up. He has no credentials. No, wait a minute. He played for one of the best bands ever, Journey. There's a movie called Groundhog's Day, and in the movie, Bill Murray keeps repeating the same day over and over again. If you had to repeat the same one day on this tour, what would it be, and which day would it be, and why?
I mean, if we had to repeat one,
Yeah, one day, like where you kept waking up and it was almost like a nightmare. And you said, like, throughout your whole career, or maybe throughout this whole tour, you just had to repeat the same day over and over again, where it was like Groundhog's Day.
yeah. Oh, there's probably many that
I would do Brazil '91. We played in Rio at a soccer stadium, and then there was like about 45,000 Friday night and about 60-something the next night. It was
Did you go-
absolutely incredible.
Did you go to the Jesus statue, the gigantic Jesus statue? What was that like? I want to go so bad.
It was very cool. Very cool.
And the coffee there was amazing. Did you try any of the coffee?
Oh, yes.
Did you go to any local coffee places that you can shout out, or you probably don't remember? That was so long ago.
Yeah, it was a little longer, but I do remember one funny story where we were doing an interview at a McDonald's. Yeah, and it was packed. It was just packed. And at one point, I told the promoter, I said, "Hey, I need to go to the bathroom. Where's the bathroom?" I thought, "Oh, hold on." And he went into the bathroom, and he told everybody he'd get out. Everybody out of the bathroom. And I said, "No, I can pee with all nerds." Okay.
Get out immediately. He's going number one.
They let me have the whole bathroom, so I just ran around and peed.
Right here, right this way, Mr. President. You're going to your private bathroom.
yeah.
And who are your favorite bass players?
I have many. I got several. Like I really like this guy named Otito Burbridge. A lot of people haven't heard of him, and he used to play for Allman Brothers.
Oh, the Allman Brothers are amazing.
Yeah, there's quite a few. I'm actually a fan of just bass players in general.
What's your opinion of a guy named Jackson Brown? Have you heard of him?
Oh yeah, at Jackson Brown.
I love Jackson Brown so much. I would love to see him live.
Yeah.
He's getting pretty old.
There's another guy. His name's Marco Mendoza. He plays a lot of jazz with he plays with a lot of people that play with Prince, but then at the same time, and then he played with Ted Nugent. He plays and played with Whitesnake, and so he's amazing. Very, very, very versatile player, and is actually a believer as well.
One thing that really shocked me was that Randy Jackson played bass for Journey. I never knew that. I was like, what the heck, bro? He's actually a musician? I just thought he was some guy on American Idol, and eventually I looked him up. He's a real musician? What the heck? I'm like, what are your credentials, bro? So I looked him up. He has no credentials. No, wait a minute. He played for one of the best bands ever, Journey. Have you ever met Journey or played with Journey or seen them live?
I've met them, but I haven't played with them.
You've met them? That's awesome.
I met the drummer, Steve Smith, had a dinner with him.
You did? Really?
I was in Germany, and he had just left Journey, and he was on a tour with a jazz guitar player out of Germany, and he came into this music store because they were supplying the drums. And a friend that I had that I was playing with owned the music store, and so he said, "You need to come here. Steve Smith's about to show up." And so, sure enough, there he was. He was a short little guy. He didn't have his hair anymore. It was like no hair, big glasses. I was like, that can't be Steve Smith. And he got on the drums. I'm like, yeah, that's Steve Smith.
That's him. He's blowing me away.
Hey, yo, he could. Yeah, I was like the piece of dirt on the gum on his shoe.
Is that what he told you? I don't think so. He seems like a pretty nice guy.
And I always said, yes.
Hopefully not. Yeah, yes, sir. You are. I am the piece of gum on your shoe. I promise you. I'm not worthy of that. So I want to be a good steward of your time, and I'm only going to ask a few more questions. What are some of the most iconic bands that you've met while being on the road that you didn't expect to meet? Or maybe just individual musicians?
I don't think about meeting bands. I just think about great experiences that we have with people. I met Kevin Cronin at the airport.
Yeah.
We just sat and chatted for 20 minutes. That was great. I talked to Amy Grant for like a half hour, and it's very nice. And then I was at the airport. I was at the baggage claim in Newark, New Jersey, and Joe Perry. Wow, again.
No way.
and he was about as far away as you are across the table. I looked and I was like, oh, I just did a double take because
Whoa, man.
Joe Perry. Like I didn't expect to see Joe Perry.
He was probably just like, whoa, just take it easy, man.
He looked at me, looking at him. He's like, oh no, another craze fan. And he panicked and ran away.
After a while, it must be so emotionally exhausting when every 2 seconds you're like Michael Jackson and everyone's like, Michael Jackson, Michael Jackson. It's like, for the love of God, I'm just trying to relax. I'm in the airport. Please leave me alone. You brought up the name Joe. Have you ever met anyone like Joe Satriani or any other famous Joes? Joe Satriani is a super talented guy.
Joe Gocken. Joe Pesci.
Joe, have you met Joe Pesci? Bada bing, bada boom, you're done, kid. Get out of here. Beat it. Who's this guy telling me about Jesus?
Double Joe.
Yeah, I met Joe Mama. Joe Mama.
My favorite musician of all time, or one of my favorite metal musicians of all time, is Alice Cooper. And the way he describes it is, he's a Christian and he's a metal musician, but he's not a Christian metal musician. Have you ever met him? And what's your opinion of him? Because he's so radical. He calls himself the prodigal son, and he's just so talented.
I would love to meet Alice Cooper.
Yeah, I haven't met him. No, the guy who produced, the guy who mixed our latest album, played drum for his videos, music videos. So that's the closest such Alice.
I want you guys to close out by telling people about your music and also telling people why they should follow Jesus. And I want the drummer to tell us why we should follow Jesus, or the guitar player, or somebody other than the singer, because the singer's always the vocal one. So I want somebody who's behind the scenes, like the drummer who's drums and never normally talks, to tell people why they should follow Jesus.
Oh,
Why should people follow Jesus?
why should people follow Jesus? There's so many. I mean, just sure your eternity. I mean, if you don't accept Jesus, you won't be saved, for one. And I mean, it's, he says in the word, your life isn't going to be a bed of roses, but at least we have him to help us through life's struggles. But mainly, to me, you want to just say, hey, we're talking about eternity here. This life is such a blip. And eternity is eternity. You want to be with Jesus, and we've lost, everybody here has lost loved ones. And so that's the hope we have, that we'll see them again. I mean, without Jesus, in essence.
Amen. And that's what I love about the Bible. It says that God will wipe away every tears from their eyes. There shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. I think you guys have a song that's based off that. Is that true?
No,
Do you guys have a song that's based off that? That Bible verse?
I don't know. I mean, all of our songs are based on the reality of God's love for us, and there are songs that have specific scriptures in mind, but you have a problem with sin, and you can define sin any way you want, but the easiest way to define it is, have you ever fallen short of perfection, of living, like as God is the only perfect sovereign being of the universe. And so if you haven't measured up to God-like standards, and that would basically be all of us, then you have a problem with God. Jesus is, quite simply, he's the bridge. You're on one side of the chasm, and then all of your sin, it separates you from God. Is
Amen.
The bridge.
That's why Jesus died like this, because you were going from one side.
There's no. It's not. Well, believe in Jesus, and I went to church, and I did all these things. It's just believing on the name of Jesus, and allow him to do what he does. And it's the easiest thing to start to do, just believe in Jesus. But then if you're serious about uh, being saved by Jesus, then naturally you would want to start to know a little bit more about him. And that is where we can start to read the Bible a bit. And, Jesus doesn't ask you to clean up your life before you come to him. He just says he accepts all of us where we are and wherever we're at. And then do I have to change to become like Jesus? No. But as a response, to his love for you, you will start to make small changes. And after 5 or 6 years, you go, wow, I don't even recognize the person I used to be. Mm-hmm. So he does have a way of changing your life in a good way.
So I have one more question before we finish, because I want to be good stewards of your time. And I know you have a very busy day today. But this one's for the guitar player, and I want to know, what are some of the most impactful experiences you've had where people came up to you and said, "Oh, God really used your music to transform my life and lead me closer to Jesus"?
I really love impactful experiences because nothing
Headphones up.
impacts like impactfulness. Impactfulness is a big thing there with us.
That's really impactful.
It's an impactful thing, yes. Okay. Just not to single anything out in particular, but I've had experience at like at a festival where somebody comes up and introduces themselves. Maybe they want an autograph or maybe not, but they say, I was on, and I've heard this story before. I was on my way to the bridge and I was going to jump off, and the last thing I had in my Walkman, I was listening to a WhiteCross song, and something just went off in my head from a lyric. Said, "Well, just give it 24 hours." So I waited, and then I didn't, ended up not jumping off the bridge. And oh, by the way, here's my wife and our kids. So they've been able to. God has been able to reach people using one of our songs, and how cool is that? Well, it's really great. Be impactful. That he can use our music to change people's lives, and to save people from rash trends like jumping off of bridges, or whatever. So yeah.
The Holy Spirit wants me to ask you, before you close us out in a word of prayer, what do you think of the local band in Chicago called King James? They're another Christian metal band. And have you heard of them?
Yeah, they're okay.
They're okay. Are you friends with them? Were you guys rivals? Like one was Pentecostal and one was Baptist. You were like, no, this can't be. They're speaking in tongues. How is this heavenly language existing?
Yeah, like meeting the gangs.
Rival Christians. It's like when you get mad at a Christian and then one person sits on one side, the other person's on the other side of the church. Just forgive each other.
Oh, yes.
They're cool people.
Nothing.
Oh,
We refer to each other.
Anchorman.
Like, oh, we're getting Anchorman and my Lord at the end of the.
I love Anchorman, but my favorite comedian is Adam Sandler, hands down. I love Adam Sandler.
I love Adam Sandler, but my wife doesn't like him.
Do you have a favorite Adam Sandler movie? For me, it's Billy Madison, hands down. Such a classic. What and then what about was it Chris Farley? He was from Wisconsin, Chicago. What can you tell us about Chris Farley? Because you guys were actually alive and have because I'm only 31. I was really young when Chris Farley died. So you guys have a very vivid memory of Chris Farley being alive. Did you ever spot him anywhere in Chicago?
I mean, we were talented in a little coat. Yeah, he was talented.
That guy in a little coat.
Yeah. Such a sad ending, and thus to bring us back to the point, we all need Jesus, and it reminds me of the Andre Croft song, "Jesus is the answer."
I love that song.
So many people just need answers, and through pretty simply putting that song, Jesus is the answer. And so, yeah.
With that in mind, that's a mic drop. Can you close us out in a word of prayer, the bass player? And we'll be done.
Absolutely. God, we just thank you for this interview. We thank you for the time that we were able to share, and God, that you even brought us here to Switzerland, and Lord, be able to have the opportunity to minister. Lord, we just always take the opportunity, each and every opportunity, and each and every concert very serious. And God, we just appreciate you, Lord, for giving us the gift to being able to do it through music. And God, that all the experiences, all the years that we've been able to share these stories and being able to, Lord, help others that have listened to the music, been some way moved through songs that we played, God, that we thank you, Lord, for being the Lord of our lives. In your name we pray. Amen.